Maxwell Hayes had always been a man who commanded respect. At just 28, he had solidified his place as one of New York's most ruthless and feared business tycoons. Known for his cold, calculated decisions, Maxwell had risen to the top through sheer willpower and cunning strategy, never letting anyone or anything stand in his way. But none of that mattered when he collapsed mid-signature at a high-stakes deal that promised to take his company to unprecedented heights. He had been finalizing the contract, a deal so monumental it could redefine the future of his empire. One moment, he was sharp, his focus unwavering, and the next, he was on the floor, the pen still in his hand. The room erupted into panic. Phones were raised, voices scrambled, and security rushed to his side. The air felt thick with tension as an ambulance fought through the busy New York streets to get him to safety. When Maxwell regained consciousness, he blinked against the sterile hospital lights, his head spinning. He looked around the room, his mind clouded, only one question on his lips. Did we sign the deal? The doctor, standing by his bedside, gave a gentle shake of the head. Sir, your health is the priority right now. We'll talk business later. Maxwell Hayes had always prided himself on his strength. A man of steel resolve, he took his health seriously. Daily workouts, strict diets, and consultations with top nutritionists. His wealth was limitless, his power unchallenged, and he never showed signs of aging. His body was a machine, finely tuned and perfectly crafted to conquer anything life threw his way. But now, as he sat in the sterile hospital room, the cruel truth began to settle in. I need my PA, he barked, his voice laced with frustration, unwilling to accept what he was hearing. His hands trembled as he tried to gather himself, still refusing to believe the reality that was being presented. But Dr. Samantha Cole, her face solemn, stood before him, unfazed by his outburst. Mr. Hayes, it's not stress, she said, her voice calm but unwavering. It's an aggressive form of neuroendocrine carcinoma. We've run every test. The prognosis is clear. 6 months at most. Maxwell's grip tightened on the result in his hands. 6 months? His voice dropped, disbelief washing over him. No, you're wrong. I'm young. I've worked hard for this body. I eat right. I exercise. You can't just tell me this. Dr. Cole nodded softly, the weight of the situation clear in her eyes. I understand your frustration, but the reality is that no amount of wealth or power will change this. We've exhausted all options. You need to make peace with what's coming. I'm not going anywhere, Maxwell muttered, his mind racing. Transfer me to the best hospital. I can beat this. I can't die. But as the words escaped his lips, a quiet realization began to take hold. His world of luxury, control, and certainty couldn't protect him from this. He was just a man now, standing at the edge of a future he couldn't buy or outrun. Tears threatened to spill as he gazed out the hospital window, his eyes blank, staring at nothing. A man who had spent 38 years building empires, sacrificing everything for success, now faced the truth he had long ignored. All those years of chasing wealth, flying around the world for deals, skipping out on family events, and pushing aside relationships, it had all led to this moment. No children, no partner, no legacy to pass on. He had created empires, but they would soon be inherited by the very people who had written him off, ridiculed his ambition, and abandoned him when he needed them most. Those same people, his so-called relatives, would feast on his wealth, while he was left with nothing but the knowledge that it all meant nothing in the end. 6 months. That was all he had left. As he drove back to his mansion, the weight of it all sank in. He walked through the grand front doors without responding to the greetings of the staff, as if their words didn't reach him anymore. His home, a testament to his success, echoed with silence. Maids moved around him, his every wish once a command, the money he had worked so tirelessly for still lining his pockets. But all of it, the luxury, the power, seemed hollow now. He had everything money could buy. But as he stood in the middle of it all, he realized what he had never understood before. Money couldn't buy love, and it couldn't buy life. And now, as the clock ticked down, he found himself losing both. Maxwell Hayes sank into the chair by the swimming pool, the evening air cool against his skin. The faint rustle of leaves and the soft ripple of the water were the only sounds breaking the silence. For the first time in years, his mind wasn't racing with thoughts of business, mergers, or financial growth. His hand held a glass of wine, its deep red hue swirling gently as he took a slow sip, the weight of everything pressing down on him. This moment, for once, wasn't about contracts or the empire he had spent his life building. The city lights twinkled in the distance, but they held no draw for him anymore. The grandeur of his world, once everything to him, now felt distant and irrelevant. Years of ambition, power, and success seemed hollow in this quiet moment. He wasn't strategizing or planning his next move. There were no deadlines, no deals to close. It was just Maxwell, sitting in the stillness, finally letting his thoughts drift to the things he had long ignored. Maxwell had never been this way. He had never been the hard, money-driven man that people saw now. He wasn't always consumed by power or success, but something in his past had shifted him. Growing up, he witnessed his mother's betrayal, how she lied to the man who had raised him as his own. His father, despite being cheated on, had accepted him without question, never knowing the truth until his deathbed. He had no true heir, yet he remained kind, taking Maxwell in as his own. That painful chapter of his life left him scarred. He feared love, fearing it would break him the way it had broken his father. So he focused on what he could control, building his empire. The empire wouldn't betray him, wouldn't hurt him. It was something he could trust, something that wouldn't leave him shattered. Now, standing beside him in the quiet of his mansion, was Florence, his loyal maid. She had worked for him for years, her devotion unwavering. She was one of the few constants in his life, someone who hadn't turned away when everything else felt fragile. "Sir," Florence called softly. "Sir, your dinner is ready." Maxwell, still lost in his thoughts, didn't respond immediately. Florence stood quietly, watching him, her usual role as a servant now feeling entirely out of place. Maxwell Hayes, the man who commanded attention with a glance, the one whose every word carried weight, was different now. She had never seen him like this before. He had always been a source of power, a man who dominated any room, the most feared figure in New York. But now, he seemed small, defeated. "Sir," she stuttered, her voice trembling slightly as she approached him. "Are you all right?" Maxwell didn't respond. He didn't need to. With a weary hand, he lifted it to his head, his fingers pressing against his temple as if trying to steady himself. He was holding it together, but just barely. Florence stood for a moment, unsure of what